Located in the former William E. Telling Mansion, the South Euclid-Lyndhurst branch of the Cuyahoga County Public Library System is an exceptional library offering a wide variety of services. Its rich atmosphere, which combines the charm and grace of the original building with the functional purposes of a library, draws people from around the metropolitan area. The story of the William E. Telling Mansion begins in 1858. It was in that year that William and Mary Telling purchased a 30-acre tract of land in the Euclid Township. At the time, the area now known as South Euclid was a community of scattered farms, a church, 2 general stores, and a blacksmith shop. In a farmhouse on the property, Mary Telling gave birth to 5 boys and 2 girls: John, William, Charles, Frank, Walter, Emma, and Eva. Second-born son, William E. Telling, was born on October 30th, 1869. William and the other Telling children all lent a hand in the chores on the farm. The farm's income came from milk, strawberries, and garden produce that was sold around the local area. Little William was about 10 years old when he began to deliver the milk from his father's farm. When William was 17, he went to work in the Bluestone quarries. From there, he became a horse-drawn streetcar conductor, and by the age of 23, Telling began his own milk delivery route. Through his hard work and entrepreneurial talents, William Telling eventually turned his milk route into a dairy giant. In 1895, William, with the help of his brother Charles, opened a little confectionery shop selling candy, soda pop, pies, and ice cream, which they made in the basement of the shop. Ice cream sales skyrocketed, and the brothers began to manufacture the ice cream wholesale. The business continued to grow and expand as the Telling Brothers enterprises merged with several other companies to become the Telling Bell Vernon Dairy Company, worth $11 million at its height. Telling Bell Vernon was the largest distributor of dairy products in the area, with branch plants in Akron, Ashtabula, Columbus, Dayton, and Lorain, plus 4 cities in West Virginia. The company continued to grow and reach new heights. Telling Bell Vernon was the first company in Cleveland to pasteurize milk and sell it in glass bottles. They were the first to set up a staff of farm inspectors and bacteriological laboratories. The first to bring the milk from the farm to the plant by means of a thermos truck, first to install automatic bottle washers and cappers, and they were the first to have complete automatic control over all procedures to keep milk from exposure to light or air. Telling also undertook another venture and became president of the Laboratory Products Company, which later became SMA Corporation. SMA was known for the development of a new baby food formula, which later became known as Formulac. Through the expansions, the Telling family had been able to retain their stock interests in the company. William Telling also served as the director of the Standard Trust Company from its origin. In addition to a good financial position, Telling profited from property investments including a land purchase just outside of Miami, Florida, which he originally bought for a small sum and eventually sold for millions. Even though Telling rarely took a day off, he was able to maintain a family life. William married Margaret E. Baton in 1893. The couple had 2 daughters, Constance and Gwendolyn. Margaret died in 1915. William Telling remarried in 1926 to 27-year-old Marion H. Taylor from Orlando, Florida, who he met while taking care of his property investments in Miami. The marriage only lasted a year, however, and the couple decided to divorce. Telling never remarried. In 1924, the village of South Euclid arranged to open a branch of the county library in a storefront building on Green Road. By the end of its first month of operation, 967 books had been checked out at the South Euclid Library. By 1926, total circulation had increased to nearly 38,000 items. The library had outgrown its space on Green Road and in 1928 moved to a larger storefront on Mayfield Road. The same year, Telling began the construction of a 26-room, $700,000 mansion in a style that mixed French Normandy and English Tudor. At that time, South Euclid was considered a small community. Most of the area's successful and wealthy residents were building in Shaker Heights, close to the culture and arts of Shaker Square. Telling, however, chose to stay close to his roots and build on the original homestead of his parents' farm. The structure was to be designed by prominent Cleveland architect John Sherwood Kelly and would take 2 years to build. John Sherwood Kelly began his career in Columbus as a cartoonist before coming to Cleveland. Kelly had no formal training in architecture, but gained his knowledge through apprenticeships in local architectural firms. In 1925, he went into business for himself. He designed several homes in Shaker Heights and a number of churches for the Catholic diocese, including Our Lady of Peace on Shaker Boulevard. Kelly was a member of the American Institute of Architects and quoted as a very, very fine designer, able to handle any style. Construction on the William E. Telling Mansion began in 1928 and involved local artisans and workmen to create elaborate ironwork, carvings, moldings, stained glass windows, and decorated ceilings to complement the magnificent structure. The pair of towers rising out of the steeply pitched roof can be compared to the architecture of a French chateau. From the rear, the deck and covered porch at the second floor level make up the composition. The roof is supported by hand-hewn Y-shaped posts. The upper story was framed by wood. The spaces were filled with wattle and daub to provide the quaint half-timber look. The foundation and ground floor were laid of stone to prevent wood from coming in direct contact with the moist soil. Visitors can immediately recognize the picturesque composition of the gabled structure framing the formal principal entranceway, and by the round tower which accents the former gardener's quarters. From the Mayfield driveway, guests of the Telling Mansion would have been dropped off at the main entrance. Upon entering, one can see the distinctive features of a French country house. From the building's stone and brick construction, leaded windows, pale marble flooring, and semicircular arches. The first room they would have entered would have been the foyer. The 4 tan marble Gothic arches provide an egress in all directions. An element of symmetry is evident in this room, especially with the geometric design on the floor and the ornamental design of the ceiling. The chandelier is original to the mansion. The air vents on the walls connected to a swamp air cooler room below. The air cooler was capable of cooling the air by 8 to 10 degrees. It was an innovation for its day. The men's and ladies' rooms directly off of the foyer served as men's and ladies' lounges. A closet existed by the men's lounge, separating the foyer from the kitchen area. The closet was removed during renovation, but the original doors are still used today. The pewter acorn doorknobs were the original doorknobs of the house. After exiting the foyer, guests would have entered the living room. Over the reinforced concrete foundation, solid oak covered the floor. The stone floor is reflective of William Telling's early employment at the bluestone quarries. The low-relief designs on the ceiling show Telling's interest in birds and flowers. The Tudor rose and thistle motif on the fireplace is repeated throughout the building. The sun porch at the back of the house still has its original slate floors, sconces, and brass doors to the terrace. Only one beam is original to the room, as the others were damaged by a leaking roof. The fountain was designed in a southwestern style. The flying ducks on the wall are original to the house. They were purchased in a sheriff's auction, but returned from California from the buyer. In the dining room, the principal element of interest is the tan marbled fireplace. Upon a closer look, the engraving on the mantel is a swan engaged in a struggle with a pair of reptiles. Birds were a love of William Telling, and his interest is directly reflected, along with his other interests throughout the house. Everything in the house was made locally, except for the custom-made door to the dining room. The door was imported from France and the handles came from Mexico. These were the only 2 things to come from outside of the area. Just off the dining room there was a breakfast nook, formed by a semicircular enlargement of the corner where the north and east wings merge. The 3 casement windows catch the morning sun from the northeast. The ceiling in the breakfast nook is domed and decorated with overlapping circular elements like fish scales. A variation of colored lights concealed behind the ceiling molding could also be turned on to illuminate the motif. The room is acoustically arranged so that the sound is amplified in the middle. By the time you enter the conservatory, it is hard not to notice the wrought iron decorating the rooms. This was a staple of the architect John Sherwood Kelly. The conservatory originally served as a solarium. The glass-covered solarium housed banana, orange, grapefruit, date, and fig trees, along with orchids and other flowers. Like birds, plants were another one of William Telling's passions. A fountain is located at the far end of the conservatory. At the center of the fountain stands a statue fondly known as Turtle Baby. The bronze girl holding a turtle in each of her hands is a replica of the original Edith Barretto Stevens Parsons work at the Cleveland Art Museum. Off of the solarium, an aviary was home to an impressive exotic bird collection. The greenhouse, located in the back of the house, was such a special place for Telling that this was the only room in the house where grandchildren were not allowed without an adult. The machinery used for adjusting the windows is still operational today. The gardener's quarters were located just across the driveway outside of the greenhouse. The kitchen was designed banquet style. It held a stove, sink, cupboards, many coolers, and a vast freezer system, which was rare for that time. In the freezers, one was guaranteed to find ice cream in its holdings. The closet off of the kitchen still has its original racks, which might have possibly held the dining linens. Next to the kitchen was a pantry, which leads us back to the closet that divided the servants' work area from the entry foyer. Tucked away just off the foyer, a dumbwaiter was used to transport laundry and dishes by the servants to the downstairs. It is still in use today to transport books to the different levels. On the lower level of the Telling mansion, a tunnel system existed so that the servants could move about the house without ever being noticed in the living quarters. Off of the tunnel were rooms where servants could do their work. Laundry was washed in one room, and another room was used for drying. Other rooms were used for storage or equipment. The boiler room was also located off of the tunnel. What remains today in the boiler room gives us insight into how the house was originally heated. Two enormous boilers used oil, gas, and coal to warm the interior of the mansion. In addition to the boiler room, there was a coal bin and ash room. A fireman was on site full-time to service the boiler room. Telling's interests were even reflected in the basement. A mushroom room was placed off of the boiler room where mushrooms were grown and harvested. Off of the tunnel, a corridor led to the garage, which had a 10-car capacity and included an 18-foot turntable equipped with a wash rack and drain in the middle. After William Telling was dropped off at the main entrance, his chauffeur would drive his car down the back driveway and into the garage. The library later opened the garage area to house its nonfiction collection. The mansion's safe was also located in the basement. It still functions today. Across from the safe is the air cooler room. The air cooler was a system of copper and brass pipes. Cold water from the pipes would run over baffles, sending the cool air through the mansion. The stairwell off of the foyer leading to the basement also ascends to the top level. A stained glass window at the top of the stairwell was custom designed for the owner with a T for Telling, a Tudor rose, and a book. Perhaps the book was foretelling of the building's future use. Upstairs, the servants who stayed at the mansion retired at night to the servants' quarters that were located where the staff room is now situated. Even though Margaret Telling, William Telling's first wife, had passed away before the completion of the building, the bedroom for his wife is located where Meeting Room 1 is now. The bathroom was decorated in the standard 1920s Art Deco design. Meeting Room 2 served as the guest bedroom. Telling's two daughters stayed here when they visited their father. The copper lotus chandelier was original to the building and moved here from the aviary. Meeting Room 3 was the children's bedroom. It was designed with grandchildren in mind. The low fireplace was intended to accommodate its tiny guests. Meeting Room 4 was an extra bedroom. The chair with the green cushion located in this room was purchased for $5 at the sheriff's auction, but was returned to the building when the Telling Mansion was established as a library. The door from the extra bedroom leads to what used to be the trophy room. The trophy room showcased all of William Telling's awards that he won for dairy excellence. The trophy room overlooks what was originally the study. This entire area was designed to resemble the loft of a barn. The beams and rafters supporting the 16-foot-high ceiling over the study and the adjoining trophy room were said to have been salvaged from an old barn that was located on the property. The beams were painted by the architect's wife, Margaret Kelly. The elevated ceiling gives a feeling of space and freedom to what is actually a modest-sized room. Off of the study was where the original master bedroom was located. Telling had this room built over the spot where his parents' bedroom was previously located in the original house on the property, and where all the Telling children were born. In the hall leading to the bedroom, refrigerators were stocked with ice cream for Telling's midnight snack. The dressing room was located off of the hall. This room is now where the branch manager's office is situated. In 1928, William Telling stepped down as president of the Telling Bell Vernon Company. The firm became a division of the National Dairy Products Corporation. In 1929, Telling took a heavy loss in the stock market crash. His stock portfolio, worth $250,000, plunged in value to less than $50,000. In 1930, the Telling Mansion was deeded to the Standard Trust Company. Upon his death, on January 26, 1938, it was unclear what would become of the mansion or the business. Both he had built from the ground up. Both felt the effects from the uncertainty of the Great Depression. Upon liquidation of the Standard Trust Company, the property was sold to George S. Carter. It served as housing for war brides during World War II during this time. In 1945, the Telling Mansion was sold in a sheriff's sale for just over $49,000 to Anthony J. DeTiro. DeTiro divided the building into 8 apartments. The dairy business that Telling left behind also went through many changes. In 1935, the products began using the seal test symbol to indicate that it met National Dairy's quality specifications. In 1957, the company became a part of National Dairy's Seal Test of Ohio division, which in turn became the Seal Test Foods division of the Kraftco Corporation in 1969. Seal Test operated its Carnegie Avenue plant until 1980. Like Telling, the South Euclid Library felt the hard times of the Great Depression. In 1932, money was pulled from library funding to help families in the area. In 1937, the South Euclid Lyndhurst Public Library Board was formed to help plan a budget to operate the public libraries of South Euclid and Lyndhurst, along with the Brush High School Library. During World War II, the South Euclid Library helped in the Civilian Defense Campaign, provided a headquarters for Victory Books campaigns, and had been selected as one of 1,200 libraries to serve as a war information center by the American Library Association. By 1940, the population of South Euclid had reached 6,146, thus entitling South Euclid to call itself a city. In 1946, the population of South Euclid was 9,380, and by 1948, City Hall estimated the population to be around 11,000. By 1949, circulation had increased to over 80,000 items compared to 59,000 items in 1945. 2,000 books had been added in 1949 alone. It was apparent that a new library building was badly needed. Then, in 1950, Cuyahoga County Public Library, led by the president of board, Arthur Fisk, purchased the mansion and the surrounding 6 acres of land for $82,000. Through funding, gifts, and donations from local citizens, politicians, friends of the library, and the county, the mansion was converted to serve as a library and opened on May 27, 1952. By 1957, South Euclid Regional Library had the second largest circulation in the county system, in spite of the fact that it had the smallest book collection of all the regions, according to the 1957 annual report. On October 16, 1974, the building was listed on the National Register of Historical Places by the U.S. Department of the Interior. In 1985, the South Euclid Library merged with the Lyndhurst Library, becoming the South Euclid Lyndhurst branch of the Cuyahoga County Public Library System. In an effort to preserve the building, there have been constant projects to maintain and renovate the building without making structural alterations. In 1960, the solarium was enclosed to increase energy efficiency. In 1986, the asbestos was removed from the building. In 1995, the building's air conditioning and heating system was replaced. 2 years later, the garage and basement area were converted into a well-lit young adult area. In 2001, the roof was restored. In order to preserve the rich history of the South Euclid community, the South Euclid Historical Society was established in 1966 by Helen Urban, Mayor Urban's wife. The Historical Society is located in the former Gardener's Quarters and serves as a museum for curious visitors. It houses several artifacts from the original Telling Mansion and the dairy business, along with photos and other mementos relating to South Euclid's past. The William E. Telling Mansion, now occupied by the South Euclid Lyndhurst Library, is indicative of the architectural style found in the north of France. It offers visual charm when viewed appreciatively from the exterior and contains elements of decoration within not found in an ordinary library. Since its inhabitation, the library has used the building not only as a sanctuary for reading, but for a community meeting place to enjoy arts, music, culture, and tradition. A love for the fine arts and literature has brought people from all over Northeast Ohio to this branch library. In addition to its inviting atmosphere in which to read and study, the South Euclid Lyndhurst Branch Library has a remarkable collection of books, magazines, audio and video resources, plus the facilities of the entire county library collection at the disposal of patrons. Both college and high school students continually draw from the library's resources for their schoolwork, and adult patrons likewise through adult education discussion and study groups sponsored by the library and through meetings held by clubs and other local organizations. Recently, the South Euclid Lyndhurst branch of Cuyahoga County Public Library has been recognized by NPR commentator and author Nancy Pearl, and earned a spot on her 10 Great Places to Find a Nook and Read a Book. This non-traditional setting for the library provides an interesting way for the community to access resources that inform, entertain, and enrich.